What's going on, guys? It's me, JV, coming to you live this Sunday afternoon. Today is August 18th. It's 2024. And I just was driving around San Francisco this morning. And as I was driving through San Francisco and Oakland, but primarily San Francisco, I noticed many men, particularly men, some women were lounging around the streets of San Francisco, mainly in the Tenderloin area, south of Market. But the overwhelming majority of the people that I saw in despair and absolute loss, just gazing at the walls, were many men that were just lounging around with no sense or direction, no sense or no purpose or direction for that matter in their particular lives. And it got me thinking, in the last 20 years or so, we have seen an explosion of people that, men across this country in the United States, that are living lonely, that are living in despair, that are living on the streets of the very big urban metropolitan areas across this country, whether it's in California, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in New York, Illinois, Washington, you name it. There's a lot of people that are just walking around with a very lost gaze in their eyes, and I think it's a reflection of our society and how we have failed as a country to provide the basic necessities to people that are in despair, to people that are in need. And I'm not talking about just handing money over to people that are mentally ill, that are psychologically challenged. I'm not talking about handing them money. I'm talking about providing them with psychological therapy, with psychiatric therapy in some cases, to people that are living in the streets, and giving them an opportunity to actually become productive members of society, eventually become sober. And I think it's a reflection of this country. You know, you got to ask yourself, how is it possible that the most powerful country on the planet, the most prosperous country in the history of mankind, with the most amount of resources, how did the United States get all of its resources? That's a topic for a different video. I can go on and on about how the United States has managed to amass so much wealth, even though it's $35 trillion in debt right now. But how is it possible that the most prosperous, economically speaking, country in the world have so many homeless people, so many men walking around the streets in despair and completely lost, and with absolutely no future for them in some cases? How is that possible? Why have we wasted so much money on useless things like foreign wars? You know, we've seen it in Iraq. We saw it in Afghanistan. We're seeing it right now, sending money to Israel, sending money to Ukraine, wasting so much money on so many useless things, like becoming the largest military by far in the planet, biggest military. The U.S. military is bigger than the next 9 biggest militaries in the world combined. Think about that. Just think about the insanity of that statement. And yet we have so many people just lounging around the streets, and so many homeless people. I actually tried to talk to a lady. She was sitting down. She looked pretty rough, to be honest with you. She was walking around shoeless. I noticed there was some callus on her feet. It really made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, knowing that here I am sitting in this comfortable chair, drinking a nice refreshment, you know, just enjoying this beautiful Sunday afternoon, and yet that poor lady, I can't even help but to think, you know, how is it possible that she's even able to walk? How can she possibly walk with callus on her feet, barefoot? She was walking barefooted, if that's even a word. And I tried to talk to her. I talked to her for about a minute and a half. It didn't seem like she had she wasn't very interested in opening up and having a dialogue with me. She sounded pretty rational. She definitely sounded like she was in her five senses, which is even more tragic. The fact that she's suffering so much out on the street. And I actually had a sandwich that I prepared for myself earlier this morning, because I was going to be eating it in the 3 o'clock hour. That's normally when I take my lunch on the weekends. But she didn't want any part of it. You know, she didn't want to take it. Maybe she wasn't very, she didn't trust me. That's a possibility. But it's just, it's tragic. And you know what's even more tragic? The fact that the governor of this state, Gavin Newsom, and the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, want to criminalize these folks. They want to criminalize homeless people. They want to throw them off the streets. They want to just clean the streets, and God knows where they're going to be putting them. And I just think it's an absolute travesty. That should not be happening in this country. There should be enough resources to go around to be able to take, care of homeless people. Because let's face it, we can all be homeless from one day to the next. We're only one unfortunate and tragic event away from being homeless ourselves. I lost my house back in 2006. Actually, 2010. I bought my house in 2006, and I lost my house in 2010. Imagine that. I could have been homeless if it wasn't for my relatives. So we can all be homeless from one day to the next, and for the government, for the state and local government of the state of California to just completely turn their backs on the homeless, on homeless people, and criminalizing them for not having anywhere for not having any shelter. It's an absolute travesty. It's an outrage, and it should not be tolerated, in my opinion. And that's what I noticed this morning. And not just this morning. I mean, I've been noticing this, like I mentioned as I mentioned at the opening of this video, for the last 20 years. I've been seeing so many homeless people, so many men just walking around in despair, with a gaze in their eyes, just not knowing what they're doing. I mean, so many of them are mentally ill, and it just should not be happening under any circumstances. We ought to do something about this. I know that there's a couple of YouTube channels that devote their entire attention to the homeless crisis. They try to provide, they basically try to shed a light on these folks on an individual and intimate basis, and they let them relate their story and how they got to where they are today. And a lot of them are very coherent. They're very smart. They're very put together mentally. It's just that one unfortunate financial hardship. Maybe they got laid off from their job. Maybe, they lost a limb. There's so many reasons why they ended up being homeless. But I think we need to do something about it. And what the governor of California, Newsom, and what the mayor of San Francisco, Breed, want to do is just not the solution, in my opinion. It's not the solution. And then you got the Olympic Games coming to LA in 2028, and the mayor of Los Angeles, I believe her last name is Bass, they're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna clean house, man. They're gonna sweep the homeless out of sight, so that the tourists don't have a sore eye when they're watching their stupid Olympic Games. But anyway, I just wanted to discuss this video very, very briefly. And by the way, I want to thank each and every one of you that commented on the last video that I recorded last night. I was feeling pretty down. I was feeling depressed. I did go to sleep early. I went to sleep like around 9:30 in the evening. Woke up early this morning, went to the gym at 6. I was at the gym for about 2.5 hours. and then I started working at 11. So the fact that I went to sleep at 9:30 last night really gave me a lot of energy and the ability to wake up at 5 in the morning today, so that I would be able to exercise and get myself back on track. But yeah, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. All the good wishes. You guys are incredible, and that's what it's all about, you know. Because as I said last on my topic of last night's video, we're all gonna die eventually. It's just a matter of time before each and every one of us physically leave this earth. And I think we want to leave a footprint as far as being nice to people, as far as having an open heart and treating each other with respect. I think that's what it's all about. But anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. I will talk to you probably tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and thank you once again for watching. Bye-bye.